first thing I heard was the screaming. Not the distant kind that blends into the background of a war zone. Not the constant rumble of artillery that becomes a sick, normal rhythm. This was sharp, close. A child's voice tearing through smoke and gunfire like a flare in the dark. I remember the smell before I remember the sight. Burned diesel, hot metal, dust thick enough to taste. My tongue felt like sandpaper. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from adrenaline, from exhaustion, from weeks of not sleeping properly. We weren't supposed to be there that morning. Our unit had been redirected at the last minute to secure a narrow stretch of road that cut between two bombed-out villages. Intelligence said it was quiet. That word meant nothing anymore. Quiet never stayed quiet. I was walking point when the first mortar landed. It didn't hit us. It hit the convoy behind us. The shockwave punched the air out of my lungs. My ears rang so loud I thought I'd gone deaf. Then came the second one. And then gunfire. Short bursts. Controlled. From the hills. We scattered for cover, diving behind the remains of a collapsed brick wall. I remember pressing my cheek against the cold rubble and thinking how absurdly calm I felt. Like my brain had finally given up trying to panic. That's when I heard the child. Desperate. Over and over. I lifted my head just enough to see across the open stretch of road. The convoy truck had taken the hit. It was burning. Thick black smoke coiling upward into a sky that was already bruised with dust. And near the rear wheel, half hidden by debris, I saw movement. A small body. Crawling. He couldn't have been more than 6 or 7. He wasn't one of ours. There were villages nearby. Civilians always drifted too close to roads they shouldn't be near. Sometimes for water. Sometimes out of curiosity. Sometimes because war leaves you with nowhere else to stand. Another burst of gunfire snapped inches above my helmet. "Stay down," someone yelled behind me, but I couldn't. The child tried to stand. He stumbled, fall. His leg dragged wrong. I could see it even from that distance. And then I saw something else. Movement from the opposite side of the road. At first I thought it was just smoke rolling low to the ground. Then it rose. Massive. Dark. Broad as a truck. A grizzly bear. For half a second I genuinely thought my mind had cracked under the pressure. We were thousands of miles from home. This wasn't wilderness. This was a blasted stretch of farmland in ruins. But there it was. Huge shoulders. Thick fur matted with dirt. Head low. Eyes fixed. On the child. My heart slammed so hard it hurt. There are rules about engagement. There are rules about wildlife. There are rules about civilians. In that moment, every rule collided inside my skull. The bear stepped into the open. Bullets cracked across the road. Dust spat up around its paws. It didn't run. It didn't rear up. It moved with slow, terrifying certainty straight toward the boy. I lifted my rifle without thinking, and froze. Because the bear didn't lunge. It reached him. The child tried to crawl away, whimpering. The bear lowered its massive head and pressed its body between him and the hills where the gunfire was coming from, like a wall. Another round hit the pavement inches from them. The bear flinched but didn't retreat. I couldn't breathe. "Take the shot," someone shouted, but I couldn't. The bear shifted again, wider now, almost shielding the child completely. The boy's small hands clutched into the thick fur at its side. And then something changed in the hills. The gunfire stuttered. Stopped. Not completely, but enough. Maybe they thought it was chaos. Maybe they didn't want to risk hitting whatever that enormous animal was. Maybe they were just as stunned as we were. I didn't waste the moment. I sprinted. Every step across that open road felt like running through water. My boots slipped on gravel and ash. I expected the next bullet to slam into my back. It didn't. I reached them and saw the boy's face up close.
You did what you had to do,
Tear streaked.
son.
Blood on his shin where
Nobody
bone pressed
here
wrong
blames
against
you for
skin.
surviving.
The bear's head turned toward me. Its eyes were not wild. They were steady, dark brown, almost calm. We were 3 feet apart, close enough that I could smell it. Wet fur.
Is the bear okay?
Something metallic, maybe blood. If it decided I was a threat, I would be dead before I hit the ground. I lowered my weapon, slowly. "I've got him," I whispered, though I had no idea why I was whispering in the middle of gunfire. The boy clung tighter to the bear. "Hey," I said softer. "I'm here." The bear exhaled, a heavy rumbling sound that vibrated through the air. It didn't swipe, didn't growl. It stepped back half a pace, just enough. I slid my arms under the boy and lifted him. He screamed from the pain in his leg. My grip tightened instinctively. The bear moved again, positioning itself between us and the hills. Another round cracked. It hit the bear. I saw the fur jump. He didn't fall. He didn't run. He stood, massive, unmovable. My squad opened fire then, suppressing the hillside. The world exploded into noise again. But we had momentum. We had movement. I ran back toward the rubble, the boy's blood soaking into my sleeve. The bear followed, not close enough to touch me, close enough to shield. We made it behind cover just as another mortar landed where we'd been seconds earlier. Dust swallowed everything. When it cleared, the bear was gone. Just gone.
Sometimes
like it had dissolved into smoke. The firefight dragged on another 10 minutes before air support forced the attackers to scatter. By the time medevac arrived, my hands were slick with someone else's blood and my ears were ringing again. The boy survived surgery, compound fracture, severe dehydration, smoke inhalation. No one asked me about the bear at first. They were too busy counting the wounded, too busy writing reports. I didn't mention it, not that day. But rumors travel faster than facts in a war zone. Within 48 hours, someone had footage. A journalist embedded with another unit had been filming when the mortars hit. The camera caught the road, the smoke, and then the shape emerging through it. The Grizzly. The video was grainy but clear enough. Clear enough to see the bear stand over the child while bullets kicked up dust around it. Clear enough to see me running toward them. Clear enough to change everything. Command called me in. The room was small, hot. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. They asked why I didn't shoot. Why I approached a dangerous animal during active engagement. Why I risked myself and possibly the mission. I told them the truth. I said it wasn't acting like a threat. They didn't like that answer. There were talks of disciplinary review. Questions about judgment under fire. Speculation that stress had impaired my decision-making. Publicly, the story was spun differently. Miracle in the crossfire, one headline said.
It wasn't the mission itself,
Another called
it was
it
the silence
the Guardian Bear.
afterwards.
People back
That's
home
when it all
loved
started to feel
They
heavy.
shared it. They cried over it. But inside the system, it wasn't
Just
that
let the
simple.
tension go.
If I had misread the situation,
You're
if the
doing
bear had
very well.
attacked, if the boy had died, the story would have been very different. I might have
What was
faced
the key
court-martial.
development in this
Weeks
period?
passed.
The
The area
urbanization and
stabilized.
invention of the
My
cuneiform
unit
script
rotated out,
allowed for
but
centralized
I couldn't let it go.
administration.
There was something about the bear's eyes, about the way it moved. It hadn't been random. It hadn't been confused. It had been deliberate. Back home, I started digging. The region where we'd been stationed bordered a mountain range. Remote, rugged. Reports over the years of displaced wildlife wandering farther than usual due to habitat destruction. One article mentioned a wildlife rescue group that had been working near the villages before fighting escalated. I tracked down one of their volunteers. She was older, tired eyes, hands that had probably stitched more wounds than most field medics.
There you go.
When I
Easy
described
now.
the bear, she
This'll
went very
help it
still.
feel better.
There was one, she said quietly, an orphan male. We tagged him 3 years
Where
ago.
ruins once
He kept
stood,
returning to the outskirts
life
of the village.
returns.
Why?
A testament
I
to
asked.
resilience.
She looked at me like it was
ensuring-
obvious. Because a child fed him. My chest tightened. The boy I carried out of the road, his name was Amir. I'd learned that from hospital paperwork. He lost his parents early in the conflict, she continued. He used to sneak scraps from the relief kitchen, leave them near the tree-line. She showed me a photograph. Amir, smaller, dirt-smudged smile. And behind him, half hidden in shadow, the unmistakable bulk of a young grizzly watching from a distance. They grew used to each other, she said. Not tame, but familiar. When fighting intensified, the rescue group evacuated. They tried to track the bear. Lost him in the chaos. Until that day. Until the road. I felt something shift inside me. It hadn't been coincidence. The bear had recognized him.
Enduring hope,
Under smoke and
kindness
gunfire and
remembered,
screaming engines,
loyalty
it had
carried
recognized
forward,
him.
courage
Months later, I
defined by
received a letter.
choice rather than
Amir had
violence.
recovered.